Gershon, honored Rabbanim, and welcome guests. My name is Cohen, and I'm the president of Young Israel Skokie. It is my pleasure to welcome you here tonight as we honor Rabbi Gershon Schaffel. I would like to begin by thanking the dinner committee for this wonderful event. They truly have worked very hard to get this dinner ready, with many people spending many hours to make this a success. There are too many people for me to name individually, so I would like to say thank you to the dinner committee and their spouses. I would also like to thank all of you for coming. Your presence here means a lot to me personally and to the shul as a community. By being here, you are showing support to a great man and helping to continue the institution that he leads. And more than just continue, your support allows us to grow, to literally raise the roof at our new location. It allows us to spread Torah with innovative classes like the Jack and the Beanstalk CD that's on your table for you to take home. The CD will give you a glimpse of how Rabbi Schaffel is able to take complex halachic concepts and make them understandable. A full 4-disc set of these Torah CDs are available in the hallway. But why support Young Israel Skokie? Well, in addition to providing a welcome and warm environment for Rabbi Schaffel, Young Israel Skokie provides chesed to our members and community with projects like collecting food for the ark and helping to pack for mouth feeding. We focus on our children with our groups and getting them involved in the services. And Young Israel also provides education, with Rabbi Schaffel giving shiurim and having scholars and residents throughout the year. All these in addition to our daily minyanim, high holiday services, and our social events. We are very close to being able to finish the renovations necessary to move into our new building. Please continue to support our efforts by making a dedication in the new building, buying a CD set, making a general donation, or even just attending events or visiting Young Israel Skokie for Shabbat experience. Thank you very much, and enjoy your evening in honor of Rabbi Schaffel. When asked to introduce our next mystery speaker, I tried looking into his accomplishments during his lifetime. Then I found out that he's only 10 years old. I was surprised by how much he's already accomplished. Besides being an excellent student in school, he has also completed many Sedarim of Mishnayot, and he takes great care of his younger siblings. He's also one who has a true Simchat Chaim, a joy of life, and he loves his tati. Without further ado, I present Itzi Schaffel, who will be giving us the Dvar Torah.
I really enjoy spending time with my father, so tonight I would like to share my feelings about what I have seen as I'm with him. My father is a model for me of what it means to be a leader among the Jewish people. Several weeks ago, when we read the Parsha of Banquet, Moshe Rabbeinu suggested to Hashem that the person who leads after him has certain characteristics. He said the next leader should go out before the people and come in before them, and that the Jewish people should join the leader in going out and coming in. There are several important lessons we can learn from these disciplines about leadership. Rabbi Yisrael also mentioned in Mishnah 9, Parak of Sotah, there it says, Pnei Hador K'Pnei HaKalam. The face of the generation is like the face of a dog. He understands the mission to mean that in the time before Mashiach, the leaders were faces of dogs. He points out that one characteristic of dogs is that while in general they may walk ahead, when they reach a fork in the road, they wait to be told which direction to take. In other words, they are not true leaders. They are like those leaders who first ask the people to vote on what they want instead of giving their nation clear direction. But what does it mean when Moshe says the leader should be someone who the people follow back in? According to the Kohen Rebbe, Moshe thought that Hashem would select Pinchas. Although Pinchas could have been able to lead, he was extremely eager. Possibly Moshe was afraid that the people would not follow such an enthusiastic leader. I can truly say that seeing my father in action, he shows the leadership qualities which Moshe Rabbeinu said were most important. He doesn't wait to see what the crowd would like, but instead he leads the people in a path he has chosen. He truly leads in a way that others can follow, and he makes everyone feel comfortable. Above all, Moshe Rabbeinu, as great as a man as he is humble and not self-important. I feel so fortunate to be at my father's side as he leads young as our Skokie. May we be so glad to see the coming of Mashiach during our times and be together and show up the next Shabbat.
For the evening. Rabbi was born and raised in Boston to Holocaust survivors. Was born and raised in Boston to Holocaust survivors. After attending the Panovich and Lakewood Yeshivot, he and his family moved to Chicago to join the Chicago Community Kollel in 1985. 7 years later, he entered the field of Rabbanut and Chanut, which included teaching at Joan Dax Beis Yaakov, Hannah Sachs, and currently he's teaching at Yeshivat Mor HaTorah. Rabbi Plotnick is also the Rav at Beis Tefillah. He has been a featured speaker at conventions such as Torah Musara and Agudat Yisrael. Additionally, Rabbi Plotnick has been invited to speak at various international venues, including in Israel and Canada. Please join me as we welcome Rabbi Plotnick at tonight's tribute event honoring Rabbi Schaffel.
You'll have to please forgive me if I can't be as cute and charming as my predecessor, but I'll try to be as eloquent. Gershon, the Rav, and the entire Schaffel family, Chashuv Rabbanim that are here, friends, and members of Young Israel of Skokie. There's a dispute dating back over 1,000 years to the days of the Cohen about the structure of the Shemoneh Esrei on Rosh Hashanah. Some held it was a little bit longer, some held it was a little bit shorter. And the Ramban, when discussing these two opinions, codifies an expression which is very, very relevant to this evening. The Ramban says, I know that both sides of this argument have merit, but he says that the Go'inim's position have a Messiah, they have a tradition from the Rabbanim Tzvairoi and Rabbanim Tzvairoi, from the Amiroi, from previous generations, going back to Rav Ashi. And he says that their testimony is good because the Beis Knesses Shalom Hayu Mispalin, because they davened in the shul of Rav Ashi. And since they davened in the shul of Rav Ashi, their testimony gives them credibility. And I once heard from my Rebbe, Rav Leizer Shab, Zechat Tzadik L'Bracha, where a person davens, gives him credibility. The Ramban says, I can believe the Goyim, because they're tracing it back with a legacy to those that davened in Rav Ashi's shul. And if you're a mispalel in Rav Ashi's shul, it says something about you. So even though tonight we're here to pay tribute, of course, to the Rav, and a way of extension to his Rebbetzin and his family, but the very gesture of giving kavod and honor and acknowledgement to the work of the Rav says an awful lot about the tzibur that's giving him that kibbud. I afforded myself the opportunity yesterday to daven Shacharis in the Young Israel of Skokie. I didn't even realize how many people that I knew there. One. Mr. Brenner, are you here? And when I came home, my wife asked me, so what'd you see in the young Israel of Skokie? I said, I'll tell you something which I never saw in my entire life. And certainly not in my career in Rabbanis. Except for maybe 2 individuals, every single person kept their tefillin on until the last Kaddish after the Yom. Who ever heard of such a thing? I walked into the parking lot. I forgot that the shul was right next to Bread Smith. And I was already having a change of heart. I went down somewhere else at 8:30. Go to the bakery first. Certainly it's a great place to go after you daven. One of the scholars said there's also a tray for grill across the street. You see how that smells when they're going. And there's plenty of distractions on a Sunday morning. Take your child to soccer practice, take your daughter for violin, go to a chavrusa, so who knows? There's so many things to do. And nobody left that shul, and practically everybody still kept it going on until the very end of davening. And this speaks volumes about the ruach, about the spirit of this shul. So even though we're here to pay tribute to the Rav, but I think at the same time this evening is a tribute to the young Israel of Skokie. They're having that covet for the office of Rabbanus. They're having covet for the Rav. Shebebeis Knesses Shaloi Atem Mispalalim, because you are davening in his shul, and that gives you chashivos, and that gives you the ultimate credibility. Ashreichem. Many years ago, there was a very famous Rav who lived in the city of Slonim. He was known as Rabbi Eisel Chorif. He was called Rabbi Eisel Chorif for a reason, because he was very sharp. Very, very sharp-witted. One day, this Rabbi Eisel Chorif became very ill. And he went to a doctor, and the doctor said, I have nothing to do for you. You're a hopeless case. So the Rav was undaunted. He went to another doctor. And Baruch Hashem, the other doctor, was able to figure out a refuah, and he was able to cure him. One day, Rabbi Eisel Chorif is walking in the streets of Slonim, and he meets the first doctor in the street. And this doctor can't believe that the Rav is still alive. So he says, Rabbi Eisel, hast gekommen zurück von jener Welt? Did you come back from the next world? So Rabbi Eisel looks at him and he says, yeah, I did. So he says, I'll say it first in Yiddish because it sounds so much better. Und was hast du gesehen auf jener Welt? So what did you see in the next world? So Rabbi Eisel says, oh, I got to tell you what I saw in jener Welt. I come to the next world, and there's this huge gate, and there's a malach, there's an angel standing in front of this gate, and there's a long row of gentlemen in very sharp suits and ties, and they're all lined up in front of this gate, in front of this angel, in front of this malach. So I asked this malach, what is this place? And he says, this door is the door to Gehenna, the door to hell. And I asked him, who are all these gentlemen in the suits? He said, the doctors. Don't you know the Mishnah says, Toim Sheberoifim Legehenim. The Mishnah says the best of the arrogant doctors, not Chas v'Shalom, the good ones that we have here. Dr. Abrams here. Toim Sheberoifim Legehenim. The best of the arrogant doctors is going to Gehenna. So as the malach that's in charge of Gehenna, I'm here to usher in all these doctors into the gates of Gehenna. So Rabbi Eisel looks at his doctor friend, the first doctor friend, and he says, I'm looking up and down this line, and I see a gentleman that looks just like you. So I went over to the malach, and I said, Schlepp them my rice. Schlepp them out of this line. This guy's no doctor. And then Rabbi Eisel explained, he's not a doctor because he abandons people. A doctor doesn't abandon. And I would venture to say that neither does a Rav. If you want to know the definition of a Rav doesn't abandon. Rabbi Aaron Koppel was a Chatzadik the Rav, the famous Rosh Yeshiva of Lakewood. After he passed on, he gave over the mantle of leadership to many organizations to my aforementioned Rebbe, Rabbi Schaffel. And it took my Rebbe's time, a lot of his time, that he otherwise could have been saying shiurim and teaching Torah. And one of the students asked Rav Schaffel, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to be a Bala boss over all of these public trusts? And Rav Schaffel told him back, that's exactly the answer to your question. I'm not a Bala boss, it's not mine. I'm a shomer. I'm a custodian. I'm a custodian over things that belong to the Jewish people. If I be a Bala boss, I could give it up. A Bala boss can sell his house, he can do what he wants. But when you're a shomer, when you're a custodian, when you're a guardian, you can't give it up. It's not yours to give up. Hashem calls himself the Shomer Yisrael. Shomer Yisrael, Shmor She'eris Yisrael, the Al Yoivad Yisrael, Hoinim Shema Yisrael. We say this every day after Tachlim. Hashem is the Shomer Yisrael. He treats us like he's our guardian. Shmor She'eris Yisrael, he watches over the remnants of Yisrael. The Al Yoivad Yisrael. So Klal Yisrael won't be lost because Hashem is our Shomer. He's our guardian. He calls himself our Shomer, our custodian. He's not our Bala boss. He's not going to give us up. He's not going to abandon us. This is the Midah of Hashem. And this is the Midah of a Rav. A Rav was always there. A Rav was always available. I just read an incredible thing. Erev Shabbos, a friend of mine was printing a sefer from the writings of Rabbi Yosef Eliyahu Hankins, who was really the dean of the rabbinate in America until it was Petir in the early 1970s. And there was a Rav who came to Rav Hankins for smicha. Rav Hankins rarely gave smicha. And Rav Hankins said, I'll give you smicha if you keep 3 conditions. First 2 are not relevant. But the third condition that he told him was, you can never take in Shabbos early. And the smicha candidate asked him, what's wrong with taking in Shabbos early? He said, because what if there's somebody in your congregation that's taking in Shabbos late, and they have a shayla, and you can't answer the telephone because you're not available for them? Or Rav has to be available every second that he can. So this young Talmud Chacham told him, I can't meet that condition. I have an elderly father, he lives in our home. We have to make early Shabbos for him. He can't stay up so late. So Hankins said, if that's the case, I can't give you smicha because you don't have the qualifications of a Rav. Incredible, incredible story. But this is what we have here this evening. It's a testament to the Rav. It's a testament to the Keynote. But there's something much more fundamental that's taking place here tonight. And I would like to indulge you for a few minutes as I share with you a word on a Rashi in this coming week's Parsha, which is very, very relevant. The Torah Gershon we're going to read this coming Shabbos tells us that we need to listen to the Chacham and we need to listen to the leaders and the wise men of every generation. You cannot veer from whatever they tell you, right or left. And the well-known Rashi tells us, even if they tell you that left is right and right is left, you have to listen. And then Rashi makes an addendum. He says, "V'kal l'chaymer," and certainly, if the Chacham tells you al yamin shehu yamin, if he tells you that right is right, then you certainly have to listen. Now that addendum to the Rashi doesn't seem to make any sense. That wasn't a question. The chidush, the novel idea here is that even if the Chacham tells you something which seems bizarre or seems wrong, you have to listen. But did anyone ever debate if he tells you something that makes perfect sense that you have to listen? So why does Rashi finish off his thought with Kal v'chaymer al yamin shehu yamin? And certainly if he tells you right is right. That wasn't in the equation, that wasn't part of the question. And I believe that Rashi is telling us something very profound. The Sefer HaChinuch writes, what is behind this mitzvah of YIOS? And the Sefer HaChinuch says an incredibly novel approach. We always understand this to mean Chacham tells you left, you think right. You have to submit yourself to the Chacham because he's right and you're wrong. Says the Sefer HaChinuch, that's not what it means. What this really means is when you know the Chacham is really wrong. Sometimes you know he's wrong. but you got to listen to them anyway. Because the Sefer HaChinuch says, we know that Jews have different opinions. I guess she lived in the 1900s. Jews have different opinions about things, and they're never going to agree. And we have to have a system of how we're going to function as a Klal Yisrael, how we're going to function as a unit. So Sefer HaChinuch says the Torah gave us rules. One rule is Acharei Rabim Lahatos, you have to the majority rule, assuming that the people on both sides are worthy of giving an opinion. And if the Chachamim tell us, if the majority opinion tells us that's the way something is, even if you know they're dead wrong, you have to listen anyway. And the Sefer HaChinuch says it's better to do the wrong thing than to undermine the authority of the Chachamim and the Rabbi. An incredible Chiddush. Because he says if we do not respect the authority of our leaders, it'll bring to what he calls Churban Hados, the destruction of our religion. So important is listening to authority and respecting authority. It's worth doing the wrong thing when you know he's wrong, if such a situation would ever arise. And he interprets a well-known Gemara with this explanation. The Gemara says there was a big disagreement, Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim, about a certain matter, and Rabbi Eliezer proved that he was right. There were miracles that proved that he was right. And a heavenly voice came out and had passed it his way. And they said, it doesn't matter, you got to go with the majority opinion. And the Sefer HaChinuch says the point of that Gemara was to tell us that even though in Shemayim, in the heavens they held Rabbi Eliezer was right, but he had to give in. Because the rule is you follow the majority rule. And if we don't have respect to the system that the Torah put in place, it'll bring to Churban Hados. It'll bring to the destruction of our religion. That's how important it is to put our leaders on a pedestal. And to respect their leadership. And to respect their scholarship. Because if by undermining it, it's Churban Hados, it's the destruction of our religion, then by respecting it, it's Kiyum Hados. That's how we strengthen our religion. That's how we strengthen Yiddishkeit. That's how we strengthen communities. And there's a great upside to this. Because when a person throws their belief into what the Chachamim tell us, the great Meshech Chochmah Meir Simcha David's writes in Parshas Vayera, we actually empower our Chachamim to render better decisions and to become more decisive with the respect and the subservience that we give them. You may recall there's a story in the Tanakh of Elisha Hanavi. He used to stay by the woman from Shunem, and he promised her a child, and the child passed away, and Elisha had to do Tchias HaMeisim, and first he sent his servant Gehazi with his staff, and Gehazi didn't work. And the woman said, Gehazi, go away, I'm not interested. Until finally Elisha was the one who was Mechayim Mason. And the pasuk says, Vayishma Hashem v'koil Elisha. The pasuk says that the Tchias HaMeisim worked. And then Meshech Chochmah explains, you know why it worked? Because this woman had an unwavering trust in Elisha. Elisha said, you'll have a child. And the woman believed she'd have a child. And she believed the child would survive. And because of the faith that she put in Elisha, Elisha was able to be Mechayim Eis, he was able to bring her child back to life. That's what we gain by putting our trust in our leaders, our Chachamim. In that case, in the Nevi'im, it gives them strength. A woman came to the Chazon Ish. She had a terrible problem. And she was pouring out her heart by the Chazon Ish. And the Chazon Ish sat there silent. And she was crying a little bit longer, and the Chazon Ish sat there silent some more. And the Chazon Ish's attendant said, no, he's not listening to you, so go home. So the Chazon Ish says, who'd she come to see, you or me? And then he turns to his attendant and he says like this. He says, a woman is drowning herself in the belief that I can help her. And you're going to send her away? I can only help her because she believes I can help her. When we put our trust in our leaders, in our Chacham, it empowers them. Why does the Rav give you a good eitzah? Why does he give you good counsel? How does he pass through shilas off the back of his hand? Because we trust him. We put our faith in him. We believe in him. And that empowers the Rav. And this is what the Chazon Ish used to tell us, is the upside of Amunas Chachamim. When we believe in our Chachamim, that empowers the Chachamim to serve us in exchange. So this evening, we're paying tribute to this concept. Because the Kehillah, because this Tzibur, the young Israel of Skokie, puts their emunah, they put their faith, they put their trust, they put their love into the hands of their Rav, this in turn empowers the Rav to service the Tzibur back. I just want to conclude with one incredible story. One of the most incredible things I've ever read. As a Rav, you look to see things to inspire you in your rabbinical acumen. Many years ago, in the 1800s, there lived a great Cohen, Rabbi Shmuel Diskin. Some may be familiar with the Diskin Orphan Home in Yerushalayim. It was started by him. And Rabbi Shmuel Diskin used to get mail from all over the world to write responses to, from America, from everywhere. So there was a Jew, a simple Jew, he was a shochet. And he lived in Rabbi Shmuel's town. And he comes to the Rav's house one day. He was going to ask him a shayla. And the Rav is going through the mail. And the Rav mumbles out loud, "Oh, look at this. They need a shaykhid in a city in America. Who in the world is going to go there?" Now, this shaykhid, all of a sudden his antenna goes up. And he says, "Ooh, what an opportunity. Shechita business isn't so good over here. I have a lot of children. I got to make parnasa." I think the Rav is telling me something. So for whatever reason, which I don't know, but I have a direct messiah on this story that it's true, because one of the grandchildren of this shaykh had said over this maisa, this man turned around, and all of a sudden he disappears. A few hours later, the Rav gets a knock on the door. It's the man's wife. And she says, "You know who my husband is? I heard he came to ask the Rav a shayla. He never came home. Where is he?" So Yishmael thinks for a minute. He says, "Well, you know what? I'll bet you went to America." What? "You know, your husband's a teamistic guy. He's a simple fellow. He probably thought that I was saying that you should go to America." And I guess maybe they didn't have Frontier Airlines then in Grist. And he took the next ship he could get to come to America. And I'll bet she's in America. So the lady thought the Rav was off his rocker. And then sure enough, a few months later, they got a letter in the mail. "Dear Claire," right, whatever her name was, "I'm here in America." Maybe it was in Chicago. Who knows where he went. "I want you to come with the children and join me." So she goes to the Rav. She says, "What does he want? To take my kids off the terrace and go to America? There's no Yiddishkeit in America. I'm going to go to America." A few weeks later, they get another letter. And the husband says, "Listen, I'm not coming home because there's no parnos at home. Either come here or this marriage doesn't have a future." So the woman comes to the Rav. He says, "You have to go. Go, I'll daven for you. Go." So she goes. Fast forward, about 40 years later. Rabbi Yishmael Diskin is living in Yerushalayim. He's already retired. He's an elderly man. And there's a knock on his door. And the Rebbitzin goes to the door. And she recognizes this shaykhid. And she sees his children look quite the Jewish type. And she says, "So-and-so, is that you?" He says, "Yeah, we came to Yerushalayim and we came to see the Rav." So listen to what the Rebbitzin says to the Rav, who's in the back of the house, which is about this long. She says, "Yishmael, you don't have to daven for them anymore. They came to Yerushalayim." Now, I don't know what goes on in the Schaffel's house. But I don't have any secrets they share. It's not my business. It's certainly not your business. But who would decipher what that means? You don't have to daven for them anymore. They already came. Who's the them? Who's the they? And how does she know he's davening? Because that's the quintessential Rav. The quintessential Rav is the Shomer Yisrael. He's the guardian of his tzibur. He's the protectorate of his kehillah. And his wife is in on everything that he does. that are allowed to be exposed to his wife. They share the kedusha of the kehillah, they share the ruchnius of the kehillah, and they share the joys and sorrows of the kehillah. And Baruch Hashem, this is what you have been zeicher to celebrate and acknowledge this evening. Ashreichem, that by Rabbi Schaffel, the Beis HaKnesses, Shaloyim, the Ramban says, Atem Mispalin, that's where you daven. May you be zeicher together with all the Batei Knesiyos in Chutz La'aretz to rise to Eretz Yisrael with the coming of Mashiach, and being it is the night of El, Rosh Chodesh El, we should all be zeicher to be inscribed for Ksivah Chasima Taiva, for you and your families and us all friends. Amen.
Rabbi Cohen is the Rav of Adas Yishurin and the Rosh Kollel of the Choshev Mishpat Kollel, of which Rabbi Schaffel is a member. He is also the co-chairman of the Midwest Conference of Synagogue Rabbanim. On a personal note, the speech that Rabbi Cohen delivered at the Sima Shas 2 cycles ago continues to inspire me in my own learning today. Please join me in welcoming Rabbi Cohen.
I must begin by telling you I do not know why I am here. Rabbi Platnik did such a gewaldige job speaking. I don't know why you need another speaker. I tried very hard to convince Benji that you don't need me, but for some reason he insisted I say a few words. So I'd like to begin with the following. Those people, I'm sure most people here in the room heard of Rav Scheinberg Zatzal. Rabbi Yisrael, Nifter 101. I just almost finished his biography. So I was always very curious to exactly how many pairs of tzitzis he wore. No one knows why he died with that secret. The tzitzis that he wore weighed 66 pounds. He wore 66 pounds of tzitzis. It's incredible to walk around carrying 66 pounds. Okay. He goes to the airport. When they started with security, and they walked through the x-ray, and they say, what is going on here? What are you smuggling? They're not letting you in, there's no way. So the non-Jewish security agent says, you may say you're a rabbi, I do that you do. He remembers that there's a Jewish security agent on duty. So he calls him. He says, listen, you gotta help me. Got this rabbi here, he claims that everything is fine. I don't know what's going on. So this Jewish security agent comes over to Scheinberg and says, Rabbi, what's happening? He says, I wear a lot of tzitzis. And that's what you see in the x-ray. I wear a lot of tzitzis. He says, Rabbi, when I went to Talmud Torah, they told me that you only have to wear one pair of tzitzis. What are you doing? Gershon was a very witty person. And he said to this agent, unbelievable line, he said to him, do you wear tzitzis any longer? And he said, no. He said, I wear tzitzis for you. I wear tzitzis for you. Now, of course, for halacha, you can't wear tzitzis for some reason. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And Gershon knew that it didn't work. And the agent probably knew that it didn't work. You know what Gershon is telling this person? What an unbelievable thought. He's telling this person, you know what? I care about you. I really care about you. I think about you. I think about all of my Jewish brothers and sisters. I think about them all the time. I really do. What an unbelievable thing. They went to Rabbi Yashiv. Rabbi Yashiv died almost the same time, also 101. And they asked him, what do you think of Rav Steinberg wearing all these tzitzis? There's also in the book. And Rabbi Yashiv said, you know, I have no idea why he wears all those tzitzis. But I can tell you that wearing all those tzitzis, he has created an incredible ring of protection for the Jewish people. And I wouldn't want him to change what he's doing. I often wondered, growing up, I didn't know if this had anything to do with this tonight. When I was a kid, I was in Boston. Rabbi Plotnick was a little younger than me. He was also in Boston. And, you know, the Red Sox were in Boston. I always wondered about what the White Sox were like in Chicago. I have no idea what this has to do with anything I'm saying here. I'm still trying to figure out why you needed both of us to speak tonight. But I just want to mention that when I used to visit, my father, Shalom, grew up in the Lower East Side. Very often we traveled back from Boston to the Lower East Side. I used to wonder, in front of Ramesh's apartment on the Lower East Side, he had special lenses. Could you see the rays of protection that came out of that apartment and spread around the entire world? Do we know what Ramesh's hasmada, Ramesh's kindness, Ramesh's tzidkis, do you have any idea what it did to protect the Jewish people? None whatsoever. None whatsoever. So I'd like to conclude. I'd like to say the following. I've spoken several times for Rabbanim, when they've gotten honored, when they become Rabbanim, and I always go back to Schaffel. Schaffel says an amazing thing. See, in Judaism, can I say one more thing about myself? I don't understand what Rav Henkin was saying. I just came back from vacation for 2 weeks, and no one can contact me. No one. No one can contact me. My mother used to have a hard time getting through. No one. I go with my family. I got up every morning. Daven Basikin outside. Why am I telling you this? Because my grandparents, had a farm. I spent the first 11 summers of my life on a farm. I was responsible for milking 80 cows a day. I had my own pony. You know, when a cow gives birth, for a few hours it's connected to its calf. After that, there's really not much of a connection. Not much of a connection. One time, eating breakfast on the farm, a cow gave birth right outside the window during breakfast. I just told my grandchildren the story. They think I'm from the moon. The cow gave birth right outside the window. It was unbelievable watching the cow give birth. Pass the toast. And a few hours after the cow gives birth, it's finished. The relationship, during the first few hours, the cow's very attached. The cow cleans the calf. Amazing. But after that, there's not much of a relationship. In Judaism, not only do we have parents, and not only do we have all of these mitzvahs, all of these incredible halachas between children and parents and children, But we really have two sets of parents. We have a mother and father, and then we have this incredible concept of having a Rav. A Rav. V'shinantam levanecha, elu tamidecha. So Schaffel says the word pruruvu, to procreate, the first mitzvah in the Torah, he says is really related to the word Rebbe and Rav. What an incredible insight. And he says that a parent's job, a Rebbe's job, we have this other set of parents, not the biological parents, which is so important. We have the spiritual parents. Spiritual parents. And I said this in shul, I've been misunderstood many times. But listen carefully. I had to repeat it in shul 3 times over 3 different Shabbosos. Got me into trouble. So listen. A Rav's job is not to be Mavaka Chola when someone's sick. A Rav's job is not to be Menachem Oval, unfortunately, when someone is sick. Some of you may like the next statement. A Rav's job is not to speak Shabbos morning. I know some of you would like it. It's not his job. A Rav's job is not to give shiurim. A Rav has only one job. A Rav's job is to inspire the people who daven in his shul. To inspire them to love Judaism. To inspire them to get engaged with a relationship with God. That's a Rav's job. How does it happen? It could happen through Bika Chaylim. It could happen through Micham Avelin. It could happen by speaking Shabbos morning. It could happen by giving a shir. It could happen by drinking a cup of coffee together. It could happen many different ways. That's a Rav's job. There's no other job. Rabbi Schaffel, Rebbe Schaffel, in the times that I have davened in the shul, and by the way, I'd like to say that someone said something about ruach and spirit. There's a lot of ruach and spirit in the shul by Shalom. Don't know what I mean? I'll explain it afterwards, right? A lot of ruach and spirit, spirit. Drinking that spirit, I noticed that in the shul. Very levendic shul. A lot of things going on there. Very levendic. I like that. But I'd like to say that every time I've been in the shul, whether it was Shabbosos that I happened to be in Skokie and I was there to speak in the shul, or whether it was Simchas in the Schaffel family when I was in the shul, Brisin, Bar Mitzvahs, there's no question in my mind that this couple and this Rav have an agenda. Their agenda is to inspire you. And their agenda is to help make you grow. That's their agenda. How they do it, when they do it, what type of venue they use to do it, all different things. I was thinking yesterday, driving back to Chicago, how many years I've known Rabbi Schaffel. Many. And I watched him chapter the beanstalk. I just watched him grow. It's been incredible. An incredible trip. And as Rabbi Plotnick said, a Rav grows because his Kehillah wants him to grow. I saw that Reuven Zelig Bengus, who was the Rav of Yerushalayim, was a genius. He left Volozhin Yeshiva and became a Rav in a little small town. And he told the Netziv, his Rebbe, he said, Rebbe, what am I doing here? All the years I spent in Yeshiva, everything I learned, what is it? What am I doing with it? I'm here in this little town, I don't even know if anybody understands what I'm saying. And he said, a Rav who speaks, knowing half a Shas, speaks differently when he knows all the Shas. Even if your people don't understand. So I'd like to conclude by saying, besides everything else, I'm jealous of Rabbi Schaffel. He has grown, he has steiged, he's become a major Talmud Chacham. And all of you, every single one of you, are very lucky to be the recipients of who he has become. Tonight, you're all celebrating Rabbi Schaffel, which means, again, Rabbi and Rebbe. You're celebrating the fact that you, together with them, are on a trek. You're moving. You're growing. The word in Yiddish is you're steiging. And that's what Jews are supposed to do. So your spiritual parents and your spiritual mentors are being honored tonight. That means we're all being honored tonight. You and we should be zeichet. And therefore, the question that was asked earlier this evening, I think by Benji, why should anybody support the young Israel of Skokie? I would like to say, because young Israel of Skokie, with their Rav and Rebbetzin, are a jewel, a real jewel, in the crown of what has become the greater Chicago community. We, in West Rogers Park, dare I say, benefit from the fact that you have created a makom with a Rav like Rabbi Schaffel. So should we all support the Israel of Skokie? Yes. Will we all support the Israel of Skokie? Probably not. Should we? Absolutely. Why should we? Because of what you are. You should be zeicha. We in Chicago should be zeicha. And all of us collectively should be zeicha. To take the lessons that you have done. All of us should grow together. All of us should steig. We should be zeicha to mazel, bracha, and atzlacha. Like umka de libi. It's a covenant and honor for me to be able to share any words in honor of Rabbi Schaffel. Atzlacha, Rabbi.
I feel like we just heard from two greatest singers of the world, and now you're going to hear from a tone deaf guy. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's kind of been a theme. Nobody's really been thanked tonight, and there's a reason for it, and I'll let you all think about it. But being a fellow musician, I got to tell you, Dennis, it's been a great listening. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rabbi Platnik. Thank you, Rabbi Cohen, for those wonderful words. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who do not know who I am, in case, I'm Ellie Cooper, and I have been asked to present Rabbi Schaffel with his award this evening. And I ask all other Rabbi for forgiveness, but before I begin, I would like to give kavod and acknowledge my parents, Cantor Reuben and Gertrude Cooper, who happen to be former honorees of the shul. May you both continue to share many simchas with me, the family, and the shul for many, many years to come. I want to take us back in time to the beginning of Young Israel of Skokie. We started with the very humble beginnings, from the assembly hall of timber at school to the basement of a Skokie home to a storefront on Dumpster Street. We thought we had it made. A small startup shul with enthusiastic young members and a place we can call home. A shul with children's programs, a shul that was open to all, a shul with a sense of purpose. But something was missing. So the search began to fill that spiritual gap. We needed a rabbi. At this point, I'd like to take a sidestep, if you don't mind, and thank someone who helped the shul in those beginning years, establishing the way we daven, and was our unofficial Rab at the time. He never wanted that position, but he fulfilled it with great conviction. The way we daven now is the way we have davened since. So if I may, and with all of your permission, I want to say thank you to Sandy Abramowitz. Sandy, this show would never have happened off the ground without you. Back to our time travel. Amongst the candidates under consideration was a young man who had already made a name for himself as a man with a unique insight into Torah in the halls of the Hebrew Theological College. But at that time, he didn't want to be a Rav of a shul, which I heard him mention over the weekend. He just wanted to help people grow spiritually. There were other candidates being considered, all with wonderful backgrounds. But this young man came and gave us a Devar Torah that we all thought was magnificent. But what really tipped the scale in Rabbi Schaffel's favor was one very important point, and this is true. He lived in Skokie already. Didn't have to worry about relocating. As funny as that sounds, this is very important. He knew the neighborhood. He knew the people. He knew the diverse background of the members of our shul. In a way, it was a no-brainer. He was new to the pulpit, and we were new to having a Rav. I remember having this discussion with other members at the time, and we all thought it would be great to grow together with this Rav. This has turned out to be the best decision this shul has ever made. He taught us and molded us into a congregation of diverse backgrounds, with different levels of spirituality, into the community we are today. He has taught each of us to strive to improve and grow every single day in our own individual way. He once gave a Devar Torah about the Bnei Yisrael escaping Mitzrayim. By the way, Rabbi, in case I got this wrong, you'll back me up on this? Thanks. You got mine, I got yours. He explained that the... What? You can, can't wait to hear this. He explained that the Am Suf, the Sea of Reeds, split into 12 different sections so that each tribe could cross separately. What we learned from this is that every Jew has his own path towards spirituality within the confines of halacha. Rabbi Schaffel has recognized each of our individual paths and has guided us through our own unique crossings to get us to that other side, where we feel our own holiness with Hashem. It is now time for us as a shul, as a community, to publicly thank you, Rabbi Schaffel, for all that you have done. First, we want to ask mechila of you for making you uncomfortable by bestowing this honor upon you. A korban, so to speak. So on behalf of Young Israel of Skokie, the community, my family, and myself, I want to thank you for being you, for your insights, your guidance, and your availability to help us deal with our paths in life. So if I may use the custom of calling someone up to the Duma. Yamod! You didn't think I was going to get away without singing, did you? Yamod, Yamod, Moreinu Rabbeinu Harav, Dayan, Gershon Eliezer Ben Shlomo Cohen had korban, hayom. I'd like to ask the President and Vice President to come up. If I may read the plaque. Aseh lecha Rav. Aseh lecha Rav v'histalek min hasafek. Presented to Harav Gershon Schaffel, Dayan, in grateful recognition of your tireless efforts, inspirational leadership, and many years of service to Young Israel of Skokie. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu grant you long life, good health, happiness, and hatzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadacha. Young Israel of Skokie Tribute Banquet, August 5th, 2013. Chav Tes of Tavshin Ayin Gimel. Before we continue, there is something else that needs to be done. There's something else that needs to be said, and Rabbi, I know you will approve. As the saying goes, behind every successful rabbi is a rebbitzin. We all know that Brandy hates that title, but it goes with the territory. Brandy, in her own right, is very involved with the shul. I know firsthand of her work on the new building committee. She has also helped people with shilas and is always willing to lend an ear and give advice. She is involved in many other community organizations as well. She has sacrificed much through the years, like the time our esteemed Rab went off to Israel to take his Dayan's Bechina. She was left behind taking care of the family, knowing with pride that her husband was taking a big step in his rabbinical career. How am I signing? I felt good. She would have loved to have gone with him to the Holy Land, but never complained. We as a shul recognize this kind of sacrifice, and we feel you should be awarded for this. So Rebbitzin, Brandy Schaffel, Young Israel of Skokie is giving you 2 round-trip tickets to Israel at a date of your choosing. Remember, this is for you and a guest. Rabbi Schaffel. Don't get your back. We can never truly give you anything that represents how fortunate we feel to have you both as a rabbi, and yes, the rebbitzin of our shul. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
I have to begin with thank yous. First and foremost to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who, as I get older, and at this point I think in my career I could actually begin to describe myself as getting older, no longer as young as I was. I'm more and more amazed at the siyata d'shmaya, at the divine providence, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu not only guides the world in general, but the way that he's guided my life, he's directed my life, and sort of pushed me in directions which, as Ali mentioned, and I mentioned in Shul often, never thought to become a Rav, but Baruch Hashem, it seems that it was a very positive decision. It was one which afforded me many opportunities in my learning, and as we'll see that hopefully it's something which reflects and extends to you as well. We're very fortunate, Brandy and I, to be able to not only to be part of the community as a whole, but to have both of our parents close by, close enough that if we need a babysitter, we need a car, we need this, we need that. We feel very fortunate. Can't say, I'll have to ask them whether they feel fortunate that all of us are here in their vicinity. The fact that they became snowbirds, it may not be a coincidence, but it's something which we are profoundly thankful to the fact that they are here and they daven with us, and it gives us an opportunity for our children, more so than anything else, to be able to have a close relationship with all of their grandparents. Many people here were not zocha to be a part of 4 grandparents over the course of their childhood. 3, 2, sometimes people, it was rare that anybody had living grandparents. And for them to have 4 sets of living parents, Kanai Nahar, ones who are healthy, ones who are active in their lives, is a tremendous, tremendous bracha, to which also we give great thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My children are infinitely patient with me. More so than I can express. But they understand as much as I try my best. And you'll notice this in Shul. But I never wanted to impose upon them that they're the children of a Rav. I didn't want to put that on them, that they have responsibilities, that they cannot be children themselves because it's going to reflect badly on me. When I say me, I mean it'll reflect badly on Brandy, because I'll take the blame for it. She gets the credit. But I never wanted to go ahead and do so, and try to allow each one of them to have their space to be able to grow, to not be affected by that in a negative sense. Hopefully, only in a positive sense. And they give up a lot by allowing me to go out and to learn and to do all of the different things which I need to do. And what we've accomplished together as a family is something which is very much due to their credit and to their patience. And it's an opportunity for me to go ahead and express appreciation of Karsato for that. We are also very fortunate to have close relationships with our siblings. Close, meaning extending from here till Muncie. Apparently those in Eretz Yisrael are not as close. Just kidding. We're going to go visit them. That's, you afforded us the opportunity to go ahead and to visit them. But we very much appreciate their activity and their presence in our lives. And it's something that we very much cherish. It's Baruch Hashem, it's a very close family. And we hope that we have many opportunities to celebrate many simchas together and to be able to grow together as in our mishpachos. The rest of it is going to be to thank you to all of you. I did something which, believe it or not, is very rare as far as speaking. I'm going to take my watch now. That part didn't count. People had two comments for me today. Number one was mazel tov. Number two was keep it short. That's the two thoughts which I received, which I very much appreciate. So listen quick. We are. I know that most people think that at the end of Shabbos until the beginning of the following Shabbos, I spend the whole week crafting my Dvar Torah, and I do. I spend hours and hours and hours writing and editing and rewriting and re-editing and throwing that one away and trying for another one and spending hours and hours in very deep research to make sure that I have the exact words and the exact thoughts and the exact expression in the exact manner that I need to present it so that nobody will ever misunderstand what I say. They don't like. This week, I started off with a thought, and I started off where I talked about, as many of you remember, that I was going to thank the congregation in a personal way when we were in the confines of our home, which would be different than what I would speak about tonight. But as I began speaking, so a thought occurred to me, and I decided, I literally changed gears in the middle, I decided that really it's appropriate to thank the congregation, to thank the members of the congregation publicly, and it shouldn't be something which is going to be Rishus Hayachid, something which is going to be private. It should be something which is Rishus Rabbi, something which is for the public. And it's based on a Dvar Torah thought, which I heard just the other day from Rabbi Zevlev. He said that we learn that HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects a person to give Hakar Satov, to express appreciation when appreciation is deserved, to be mindful and to give credit where credit is due. Where do we find such a concept that expresses itself? So, we know that the daughters of Schaffel come to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they say, we don't understand. Everybody's going to get to Eretz Yisrael, and we're going to divide up the land, and lo and behold, there are no boys in our family. So what's going to happen to our father's inheritance? What's going to happen to our portion of the land? Where is it going to go? Who's it going to go to? Why is that fair? Is that low fair that we shouldn't get it? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. There's only one address you can go to after that. I'm going to have to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu says is, Vayomer Hashem Moshe Lemor, Hashem says to Moshe, saying, Cain b'nosaf hadoros. He didn't just answer the question. He didn't say, tell them not to worry, they're going to get a portion as well, because when there's no boys, the girls are going to inherit. He made a point of saying, Cain b'nosaf hadoros. They said a good question. They had a good question. And when somebody asks a good question, you have to acknowledge it, and you have to give credit for the question. What the answer to the question will be, we'll get to that later on. That's going to be the subsequent psukim. But the first lesson is you have to acknowledge, and sometimes you have to acknowledge publicly, the appreciation that one has for what others have done for them. So I decided at that moment I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I'm going to talk tonight and express my appreciation I talk to the tzibur, rather than do it in shul. Very often, people ask me about something which I said in Dvar Torah, and my standard answer will be, despite the hours that I spend crafting it and all that, but despite that once Shabbos is over, it's like a hard reset in my brain, and just all of it is lost, and I rarely remember what I talk about. But this Shabbos I have to remember what I spoke about. And I spoke about the value of each and every day. In that, if we look at, we're supposed to find guidance to Parsha every week. And if we do so, using that model that some people do for reviewing the Parsha, on Sunday you'll do Rishon, you'll do the first Aliyah of the week, on Monday you'll do the second Aliyah of the week, and every day becomes a new day, a new opportunity to study. Every day has new definition. It's not one day after the other, after the other, after the other, then comes the Shabbos, and then one day after the other, after the other. Look at each day as this is Yom Rishon, Parshas, Shoftim, Tavshin, Ayin Gimel, which we'll never experience again. So if the value, if you know that you're never going to be at that moment again, it infuses, invests in that moment much greater sanctity and a much greater drive. So I decided I'm going to listen to myself. So here we are, the end of, we started when it was still before Shkia, but it was Yom Sheni, Parsha Shoftim. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go and look in the Parsha of Sheni, the second Aliyah of Parsha Shoftim, and find some sort of inspiration. Everybody's trying to review very quickly in their head, did I ever lay Parsha Shoftim? If I did I read the second Aliyah? What is in the second Aliyah? So I will tell you. And I don't think it's by any coincidence this is part of this divine providence by which HaKadosh Baruch Hu guides everything. It's the Parsha that deals with the mouth. So I was very excited by this. That of all the Aliyahs and the days that we could have decided, we could have had the dinner, we had another date. And it's like, you go to the magician, are you sure you want this one or do you want to switch to another one? We switched to another one. And lo and behold, we find ourselves on the day of the Aliyah having to do with Malchus. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. And now it happens to be that there are many, many different aspects of this which I find to be significant. One of them is that we together are Mekayim one of the commands which are given to the king. And you're wondering what exactly that is. I'll tell you. It says, V'lo yar v'lo nashim, can't have any more than one wife, or too many wives. V'lo yasir levava, and you can't redirect your heart somewhere else. V'kesed v'zav lo yarbe lo ma'od. Don't give the melech, the rabbi, too much money, because too much money is something which is going to go to his head. So here we are in this Aliyah on this day, the only time we'll be here. We have these instructions, don't pay the rabbi too much. I thank you so much for filling that from the depth of my heart. But there's another aspect of Malchus. And it's something which those who attended Shabbos afternoon in class, and we did Shabbos of Malchus, we did the work from Shimshon David Pincus on Shabbos, so you may remember this from a while back. And he said the amazing thing about Malchus, that the way Chazal describe what it means to have a kingdom, what it means to have a king, is the phrase that they use is Leis la megarma klum. The king brings nothing of himself to the table. What does that mean? What does it mean the king brings nothing of himself to the table? So the mashal, the parable which he gives is, what are the components, the essential components of a table? So you have 4 legs, and you have a board over the top. So how many pieces do you have? You have 5 pieces. If I have a leg, and the top of the leg, and they're all spread out, you bought it from whatever the store is, a box store, they send it to you in a box, you have to assemble it. When you get the box, you don't have a table. You have pieces of wood, planks, which may fit together, but until they fit together, they're nothing. What happens when you put them all together? Follow the instructions and make sure that you get it all right, and you don't have to redo it. But what happens ultimately when you do so? You now no longer have 4 legs and a board, you now have a new entity. The new entity is now the table. It didn't exist before. The table itself has no parts which are self-defined. It is 4 tables and a board. But you combine them together, the composite of 4 legs and a board, that creates this new entity of a table. Spiritually, we have all sorts of different midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have chesed and gevura and tiferes, and we have a whole list of midos. And the top of that is Malchus. Malchus is not the trait in and of itself. It's the composite of all of that, and it's what's going to guide all of the other midos. It's what's going to guide all of those different spiritual dimensions which exist, and that's the uniqueness of Malchus. David Melech Yisrael. We talk about the greatest king, David Melech Yisrael, when we do Kiddush HaChodesh, and we go outside and we say a bracha, and we invoke the fact that, just like David HaMelech, that the kingdom should rise again. What's the relationship between the Malchus of David HaMelech and the moon? And the answer is, the moon doesn't generate its own light. The moon reflects. The moon is a reflection of the sun. The sun, perhaps, is the source of light, but the moon certainly not. But that's the nature of Malchus. Malchus doesn't contribute of itself. Malchus becomes a mere reflection of all of the different parts combined properly together. That creates Malchus. A number of months ago, I saw somebody who used to be a member of the shul. And he said to me, he said, oh, I'm so happy that they're honoring you, it's so well deserved, and I wish I could be there. I said, wonderful. He says, you know what? I know what you're going to say, Rabbi. I said, how can you possibly know what I'm going to say? I only prepare a week in advance. So you can't possibly have told me that I'm going to be prepared this far in advance. There's not a chance that that's going to happen. He says, I know exactly what you're going to say. So I said, okay, if you've already written a speech for me, give it to me, and I'll just put it on file, and I'll take it out at the appropriate time. He said, what you're going to get up there and say is, it's not about me. It's about all of you. And you're going to try and deflect all of the honor away. So I took that as a challenge. Lahafis, I am not going to talk about me. I am going to talk about me. But it's going to be me as a melech. It's going to be me as the composite of what all of you are. The contribution that each and every one of you has given to me to be able to have insights and to be able to say drashas and to be able to give shiurim in all of the spiritual achievements which I have accomplished specifically because of you, not on my own. That's what it means to be a melech. To take the composite of all of that contribution, all of that raw material, combine it together in that perfect way, that creates a malchus. Because I'll say, I learned a lot from my teachers. And I learned more than I learned from my teachers, I learned from my friends. Umi talmidai yoseliku. It's a strange thing. Now, any teacher will tell you intuitively that that's true. That when you teach something, you learn something better. But what exactly happens in that process, that developmental process, when you go from being a student where you're learning a lot, the students don't know much, so obviously they need to learn a lot. Then you get friends. Friends are peers where you think you know something, but all of a sudden you realize as you discuss with others, I only had one perspective. Now that I discuss it with my colleagues, now that I discuss it with my peers, suddenly I realize that there are new perspectives, a new way of analyzing, and I can debate, and together we can work it out, and we can hopefully arrive at the end, we can arrive at Pshat. Mitalmida Yoser Mikulam is a completely different dimension. It's a completely different depth. It's not the acquisition of knowledge in the quantitative sense. It's acquisition of knowledge, of Torah knowledge, in depth. The things which I have to go ahead and do, to say drashas, in order to be able to get up on a weekly basis, or numerous times of the week to be able to speak, is, I can tell you 100%, I would never be able to do that on my own. If you lock me in a desert island somewhere, which may be tempting for some of you, but if you were to go ahead and throw me in a desert island somewhere and give me all this farm that I want and say, write 3 years worth of drashas, at the end of 3 years I can tell you exactly how many drashas I would have written, I would have none. I would have nothing to show for that time. Because in order for a person to be able to achieve sometimes, in order to accomplish, one reaches that level of Talmida Yosanikula. The students are the ones who contribute, who push, who motivate, and get the Rav to go ahead and to make sure to learn and to grow and to always be on the top of his game, because all of you are always at the top of your game. So as much as this is about me, I am here just as that melech figure who is the composite of each and every one of you. And as Rabbi Platnik said so eloquently, and as Rabbi Cohen said so eloquently, and as Yitzi said so eloquently, as all of them said, the same idea that there's this dynamic which exists between the tzibur and the Rav, and in order for it to work, like the shidduch, in order for it to work, it has to match. And if it matches, it could be a wonderful experience on both ends of the relationship, and everybody could grow, and everybody could push, and everybody could be motivated. If chas v'shalom it doesn't work out that way, so sometimes it's necessary to go separate ways. So as much as this evening is about me, this is much more about you. It's much more about you and the contribution and the inspiration that you have given me over all of these years to be able to perform and to be able to do the things which I do, which hopefully continues to inspire you. Mirz Hashem, we will continue our path of trying to grow in our spirituality, trying to strengthen our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, trying to learn more Torah, trying to daven better, trying to do more chesed, and we do so not as the individual parts, we do so as the sum total of all of who we are, which becomes this separate entity of Malchus. I can't begin to thank you all enough. For your motivation. in your inspiration. And as much as it's my job to try and motivate and to inspire you, much more so than I could ever do for you, I'm appreciative of all that you do for me. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for coming. Mr. Sheldon Schaffel will now lead us in benching, followed by Mark.
Olam.